Hello. Please be advised that this webcast contains explicit language and discussions of sexuality. If you're under 18, you should probably ask your parents first. Otherwise, enjoy the show.
Wow.
Oh my god. How magical.
It's happening.
It's all happening. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I feel so welcome.
I'm glad. Well, it's Cinco de Mayo, and we're drinking Tecates. And, well, I am really excited to have you here because you were the person to really sit me down, hold me by the shoulders, stare me straight in the eyes, and be like, you have to do this. So this whole show is thank you to my guest today.
Oh, no, it's thank you to her because she did it.
And something that I honestly have always really admired you for is just your dexterity with situations and communication. And I remember very early on in our friendship, you suggested that I read Daring Greatly by, oh my gosh, Game Changer.
It's so good.
Game Changer.
It's so good.
I'm like, this is the new Bible. Brene Brown is God. So when I was first talking about some episodes that I wanted to do, and I was having this like very fever brainstorm, and it was all thanks to my friend here wanting to think about what is it that I want to talk about on this webcast. I made this huge list of like, these are possible episodes, and I sent it to you, I sent it to my guest who I had on for episode 1, and other friends that I was just like, you know, what if we had this conversation on camera? And the one that you pointed out is like, well, I would feel the most comfortable talking about this was the one on disclosure. And the whole premise of this show is to be a place to talk about things that maybe even your friends might judge you for, or you're worried your friends would judge you for. And around the ideas of disclosure, I feel like we've talked about this a little bit before, you and I, because we've talked about casual sex encounters. As a 20-something, have not been very good about being like, so being tested.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
And I think you really broke that world open for me, whether you knew it or not.
I'm so glad.
Oh my God, because I would not bring it up because I didn't think to.
No,
honestly.
Well, also like it's such a clinical and like mood that doesn't feel sexy, and it feels extremely vulnerable, and also like, okay, maybe we both need to go get tested and should stop making out right now. And it's like, but I don't want to stop making out. Like, let's just pretend that like we don't need to get tested, and like it's fine. So the older I get, the more I'm just like, okay, this is like a part of having sex with other adults, is just like, let's be open and honest. I had an experience with, while I was dating a guy who I was just like over the moon for. You know, when you start dating someone and you're just like, whatever, I just need to be with this, like whatever happens, I just need to be with this person. I'm just obsessed with them and I love them. And like, totally playing it.
I'm like, cool. No, I don't know that at all.
No. Yeah, no.
That's alien to me.
Gross, yeah. Oh, I just thought he was the tits, and he was like so into me, and I was just like, this is a dream life. I think he came over to my house for dinner. We were sitting on my couch and we were just chatting, and the subject of HPV came up, and I mean, like, I don't think HPV. Fuck HPV. Like, doesn't matter. Don't care. I have it, absolutely. But and I have in the past been very like, hey, you know, before we have sex, like, I just need you to know, like, I have HPV and this is a thing, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Right. Which I remember you telling me situations
I was very
like
proactive
that.
about it. I was different because I was so emotionally invested and just like I was so just like trying to present my best self and just really trying to be like, just love me. I think you're so great. And so the subject of HPV came up, and I am so so like proactive and vocal and like really try to get ahead of things. He was like, "Oh, have you been tested?" or something to that effect. And
He brought it up?
yeah, he brought it up so great. I said no. And then I was like, "You've been tested. You've had like 2 colposcopies. Like, what are you talking about?" But I couldn't stop this train that I had boarded. And I was just like, "Oh no." And like I left my body, like watched it happening. He was like, "Wait, you've never been tested?" I was like, "No, wait, no, I've been tested." But like, and then I was like, "Oh fuck, what are you doing?" Like, I'm a adult 30-year-old woman, just like scrambling through a lie. I was like, "What's happened to my life?" I think part of my problem was when we first got together, he went down on me, and then there was a part of me that was like, "Should I bring this up now?" And I was like, "No, I don't think it's an issue." And then when he brought it up later, I was like, "You should have brought it up, and you didn't, and that was irresponsible." And so, fuck. So I just felt trapped by it.
He made it cavalier, and that caught you off guard.
And I was just like, "Oh, damn it. I'm in love with you. No. Please have sex with me." Mm-hmm. And I talked to my therapist about it because I was just like melting down. I was like, "Oh, you're a terrible person. You've had sex with someone and they're and my therapist was like, "I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone has HPV." And I was like, "Yeah, but like that doesn't make it okay that like blah blah blah." And she's like, "I mean, when was the last time?" She was really just like trying to damage control at this, and also put in perspective for me, like, look, this is not that big of a deal.
She wasn't trying to belittle your concern, though, because your concern was not, it was the principle of the matter.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm a person of a lot of principle. And
high principles, folks.
So many principles.
Too many.
Exactly. And so
which is why you're cut off guard when someone else beat you to it.
No.
I get to lead the HPV conversation, not you. Did that help talking to your therapist?
Oh my God, so much. I mean, to be perfectly frank, like, on one hand, I'm like, disclosure and talking about your sexual health and getting tested and things like that is so important because you're in such an intimate relationship and it has an effect on your physical life and, possibly the rest of your life if you contract something that will stay with you. And so it's important, and it's important to honor that person with your honesty and give yourself dignity and give them dignity. And I think it's just like such a kind gesture, such a like human, like, look, we're going to connect on a really intimate physical level, and I'm going to be straight with you on this. I think so many people are afraid of it because it's vulnerable and terrifying, of course, but like we oftentimes like take the other person's lead, right? So we kind of take our cues from the other person, and if they're not bringing it up or it's not on their radar, then we're like, no, I think it's fine then, and like I'm just gonna go with it, and I'm just gonna like kind of ride this whatever is happening in the moment. This person that I dated was the only person that has ever brought up to me that like being tested, have you been tested, HPV, whatever. I've never had a man talk about
I'm going to be really honest, neither have I.
No.
Yeah.
No. And I think
somehow it's always the woman's responsibility.
Men, if you're listening, that's probably the most romantic, like tender, kind, wonderful thing you can do to romance a lady is just like hold her hand and say like, "Hey, I care about you. I want to make sure we're on the same page. And have you been tested? This is the last time I was tested. Are you comfortable with this? What's going on with you?"
I am curious, like, what age that started being a thing or a mindful practice for you. Were you making it through most of your sexual life not saying anything because they're not, so I'm not?
Yeah.
And then when did it become important to you?
Yeah. I think when I was in 26 or 27, I was dating someone, and I had always had, like, no problem. I'd been regularly tested. We were probably, like, a year and a half into dating, and I found out that I had HPV, and I had to go in for a colposcopy, and it really freaked me out. And like at this point in my life, I'm really have a different perspective on it, and I kind of find it to just be like, it's totally fine, and I'm a healthy person. I make healthy choices, and whatever. So, but at the time, it really kind of threw me for a loop, and his ex-girlfriend had been diagnosed with cervical cancer. And he hadn't told me that when we got together. Mm-hmm. And there was a part of me that just felt so betrayed by that. Yeah. Because, like, this person in particular was a really, like, kind, gentle soul. And I would never assume that he would ever, kind of be malicious or, anything like that. And so I felt really, like, kind of kept in the, I was like, you really took my health into your hands there, didn't you? And that felt unfair. And that felt like really like a betrayal for me. And I really, like, struggled with that. And so I think that was really, like, the thing that helped me kind of understand, like, oh, we really put a lot of trust in the people that we have physical relationships with. And if we don't talk about it, then it's just blind trust. Yeah. And, like, no matter how good a heart someone has, no matter how kind they are or how much they care about you, the shame and kind of secrecy around STIs and our sexual health is so great that it can keep anyone from saying something to you because our emotions are involved.
Has learning to talk to people, whether it be your girlfriends or your doctor or your partner at the time, specifically about disclosure of HPV and communicating to them, this is something that's a reality of having sex with me, has that helped you in your communication around other aspects of sexuality? Or do you think that you have been able to ask for what you want before that, or what you need even before needing to disclose this fact about yourself? Yeah. Or has disclosing this helped you communicate other things in sexual encounters?
Yeah. No, I think they're completely isolated from each other.
Really?
Actually. Yeah. I think the thing around disclosure speaks to me because it's like it revolves around doing the right thing, and doing the right thing is something that appeals to me. I don't like, I'm air quoting right thing, right? Like, I think sometimes I have a tendency to get hung up on making sure I'm doing things correctly. That aspect of things kind of speaks to my inherent inclinations around my dealings with anyone, my friends or people who I'm in relationships with, whatever, which runs counter actually to or in the opposite direction of where I need to communicate sexually on, like, what I need and what I want and what makes me happy in bed. For me, for whatever reason, that's much more vulnerable.
Quick step.
So I had a partner recently who I found it really easy to be, like, super open and blunt and honest with. And I was like, I've really, like, crossed a bridge here. Like, I was, like, put words to what I wanted, and I felt entitled to want it. And I was just like, this me, baby. Yeah. Give me all the good stuff. And
why was that?
And, like,
what was different?
You're
30 now.
I'm 30 now. I'm 30.
Young.
I'm 31 now. I think with that particular partner, I felt like my vulnerability, the stakes were very low. Because I felt he was attracted to me no matter what. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to be any particular version of myself, or I didn't need to present myself in a particular way. I was just like, oh no, he's just attracted to me, like, straight up. But, like, then, the sexual partner I had immediately following that person, I have been in a relationship previously with. And so it's an interest, like, I was like, well, I crossed that bridge, but then I like maybe like jumped off the bridge and got on a boat and then went back to the shore and like am now in a past sexual relationship that I and so it brought a level of complexity to my ability to communicate that I was not anticipating and did not and like it's still something that I'm like kind of trying to feel out because with this brand spanking new partner, I was like, "What's up? Here I am, and this is what I want, and no apologies." And with this person, I'm like, "Well, we had sex like 3 years ago, a bunch, and now we're having sex again now, and it's like such a lovely relationship, and I'm so glad that we're in each other's lives." But it's definitely a callback to like my previous sexual self in a way that I'm like, I'm past that, and I don't know how to reintroduce myself. And very possibly that person that I was in relationship with who was so safe to be around, who was so made me feel so free to be open and honest and vocal about what I wanted and what I needed, it's possible he might not have been the right person or safe for another person at that time. You know, like for, you know, that amount of time and for us two people, like that was the right thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for encouraging me to do this because this was my physical therapist's idea to do a show like this instead of going to grad school. Thanks, Wade.
Wade,
Wade, right on, dude. But I was just like, nah, and you're like, no, but you have to. And of course, like I just really appreciate like you have always been so supportive.
Saw your passion and your conviction, and I just thought this is like you showed it to me, and I just reflected it back to you. That's all.
Oh goodness, thank you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I hope you didn't say anything weird.